Before thunder ruled the heavens, there was only silence, a silence so vast it seemed eternal. But when the gods rose, when Olympus carved itself out of chaos and crowned Zeus as its king, the silence ended. In its place came lightning, the voice of dominion, justice, and divine will. Until the day it vanished, it began not with a scream, but with the absence of one. Zeus stood at the edge of Olympus, his eyes fixed on a sky that refused to speak. The clouds swirled as they always did, but the thunder did not follow. The weight of the heavens pressed down, not with power, but with doubt. He raised his arm. The air should have cracked, mountains should have trembled, but the sky remained still. The thunderbolt, his thunderbolt, was gone. Not misplaced, not hidden, gone. He turned toward his throne, carved in stone older than time, now cold and empty. It had once pulsed with light, the bolt hovering just above it, alive with purpose. Now there was only a faint echo of warmth, as if the weapon had left in haste. The silence spread through Olympus like a sickness. The fates paused their weaving. Hermes stopped mid-flight. Hera's gaze narrowed. Poseidon gripped his trident a little tighter. Even the mortals far below sensed something. Birds flew lower, rivers moved slower. A shepherd looked up from his field and asked the wind, "Where has the thunder gone?" Zeus tried to speak, but no words came. Not because he lacked them, but because they would not matter. A god without thunder is a shadow of himself. For eons he had wielded the thunderbolt, not just as a weapon, but as a promise. It was justice, power, order. It was the sound the world obeyed. Without it, Olympus trembled. Without it, he trembled. He summoned the gods. They gathered in silence, their eyes flickering with confusion, suspicion, fear. "It is missing," he finally said. Apollo was the first to speak. "Stolen? By whom?" Hera asked, her voice already laced with blame. Hermes shrugged, his mouth curled in a grin too knowing. "Perhaps it didn't leave. Perhaps it escaped." The words hung heavier than thunder ever could. "Are you suggesting the thunderbolt has will?" Athena questioned. "No," Hermes replied. "I'm suggesting the thunderbolt remembers." A murmur rippled through the hall. Zeus dismissed them. He did not want debate, he wanted answers. But deep within, he feared Hermes was right. That night, Zeus walked alone to the edge of the heavens. The stars blinked, indifferent. The wind carried no scent. He knelt, placing his hand upon the marble floor, and closed his eyes. He remembered the first time he held the thunderbolt, forged in the belly of the Cyclopes, gifted to him as a symbol of rebellion and birthright. He remembered how it trembled with potential, not yet wrathful, not yet used. And he remembered the first time he unleashed it, not in war but in mercy. A titan had begged for his life. Zeus struck the ground beside him, not the man. The message was clear. I could, but I won't. It was the day the thunderbolt became more than a weapon. So why now, after all these ages, would it leave? Unless it no longer saw him as the one worthy to wield it. A chill crawled up his spine. What if power, once misused, chooses to flee? What if thunder, once trusted, decides to fall silent? As the stars wheeled above and Olympus slept, Zeus remained motionless, waiting. But no lightning answered, no sky cracked, no sign returned, only silence. And in that silence, for the first time in eternity, the king of gods felt something he had long believed himself immune to: loss. Olympus never liked stillness. It thrived in movement, in echoes of laughter, clashes of debate, thunder rolling behind every divine word. But now, with the thunderbolt gone, even time seemed to hesitate, and with the silence came something worse: suspicion. Zeus stood before the high council of gods, his presence as imposing as ever, but something beneath his eyes had changed. Not weakness, and not yet, but something close, an unraveling. "They say you lost it." Hera's voice rang cold and sharp. "But you don't lose thunder, do you, husband?" He ignored her, or tried. Apollo leaned forward, golden hair brushing his shoulders, lips curled with amusement. "If it wasn't stolen, as you say, perhaps it left of its own accord. Poseidon, always the blunt force, pounded his trident into the floor. Blasphemy. Thunder is not sentient. Are you so sure? Athena asked. What if it is bound not just to Olympus, but to Zeus himself, to his state of being, his choices? What choices? Hephaestus asked, voice slow and burdened. He hasn't changed. That's the problem. Zeus gritted his teeth. He had called them for unity, for strength. But what he received was doubt, mirrored back at him from faces carved in myth. Even his own daughter, Athena, seemed unsure. Then Hermes spoke, not loudly, not mockingly, just enough to cut through the haze. Perhaps we should not ask where the Thunderbolt is, but who Zeus has become without it. The hall stilled. Zeus stepped back from the council. No one followed, not even Hera. She watched him with eyes that once held reverence, now tempered with weariness. She didn't accuse him aloud, but her silence did. He walked the marble corridors of Olympus, alone. Every pillar, every mosaic, every echo reminded him of what once was and what might never be again. He passed a statue of himself, thunderbolt raised, muscles tensed, face fierce. It looked like a god. It did not look like the man he felt he was now. He found himself in the Hall of Echoes, a chamber few gods dared enter. Here, every word ever spoken in Olympus lingered, whispering in stone. He stepped inside, and the whispers began. I am Zeus. I command the skies. I am your king. Obey. Let them fear me if they must, but they will never forget who rules. And then, softer. Power without wisdom is tyranny. He didn't remember saying that. The voice was his, younger, softer, perhaps spoken in a moment he had buried. He left the chamber. Somewhere in Olympus, Aphrodite lit a candle in prayer, not to him, but to something older. Dionysus refused to speak. Ares sharpened his blade with unnecessary force. Demeter closed her temple. The gods, for all their titles and strength, were only reflections of belief. And now belief in Zeus was cracking. He stood at the edge of Olympus again, staring down into the world of mortals. He felt smaller now, not by scale, but by meaning. What was a king without his crown? And yet, maybe this was the point. He remembered Prometheus bound to the rock. The Titan had once warned him, your rule is not eternal, not because you will fall, but because you will forget what made you rise. He had laughed then. Not now. He closed his eyes and whispered into the wind, if you left because I lost myself and show me how to return. No answer. But in the clouds below, a flicker, not of lightning, but of life. A city, a temple, and someone there, watching the sky. He turned to Hermes, who appeared at his side without being called. You're going down there, the messenger said. Zeus nodded. To seek the Thunderbolt? Hermes asked. No, Zeus replied. To find the part of me it abandoned. And with that, the king of Olympus stepped from his throne and into the world of men, not as god, but as shadow. Not to reclaim his weapon, but to rediscover why he had ever been worthy of it. The first thing he noticed was the cold. Not the biting kind, but the kind that lives in silence. The chill that creeps into the bones when no one sees you, when the world moves around you as if you do not exist. Zeus, once the voice of the sky, now walked among mortals as nothing more than a cloaked stranger. His eyes still burned with divinity, but no one met them. No heads bowed, no prayers rose. He had stripped himself of Olympus's glow, of lightning's shimmer. The disguise was not magical. It was humble. Fabric instead of flame. Footsteps instead of storms. He wandered through the dusty streets of a village nestled between broken cliffs and sacred rivers. The people lived simply. No grand temples, just small shrines worn by wind and time. But in their eyes something lingered, not fear, not worship, but yearning. They remembered something. Not him, perhaps, but something. He stopped at a well where an old woman was drawing water. She looked at him, not through him, at him. You carry weight, she said. I carry silence, he replied. Same thing. She left with her bucket, and he remained. Night fell. Fires flickered. Children played in dust, laughing into the darkness. And that's when he heard it. Not thunder, but music. A low, trembling hum, rising from the far edge of the village. He followed it. The sound led him to a modest stone temple, half collapsed, barely standing. Inside, a single figure sat before a broken altar. A woman, young, but with eyes ancient and clear. She was singing, not a song for the gods, but a lullaby to the wind, to the sky. He stepped forward. The music stopped. "You shouldn't be here," she said without turning. "Neither should that song," he answered. "It hasn't been sung in centuries." Now she turned. Her eyes didn't widen. Her breath didn't hitch. She looked at him like someone recognizing a name they'd long forgotten. "Who are you?" she asked. He paused. "Once I was called Zeus." She said nothing. Then, softly, "And now?" He didn't answer. He didn't have one. She stood. "My name is Lyra. I hear what others don't." "And what do you hear now?" She listened, not with ears, but with her body, her breath, her soul. "There's a storm," she said, "but it's not in the sky. It's inside you." Zeus lowered his gaze. "Then I have truly lost it." "No," she said. "It's just hiding. Like you." She turned back to the altar. From behind it, she pulled a cracked tablet, etched with a spiral, surrounded by flames. He recognized the symbol. "It's from the first forge," he whispered. She nodded. "The place where the Thunderbolt was born." "How do you know that?" "I dreamed it. For years." He stepped closer. "What else do you dream?" "That it ran." The words hit like stone. "Why?" She looked at him, and this time, her voice carried weight. "Because you stopped listening." Zeus flinched, not from anger, from truth. "I thought listening was for mortals." That's why it left. They stood in silence. Outside, the wind picked up. The sky darkened, not from storm, but from memory. He looked at her, and for the first time since Olympus, he asked a question not as a god, but as a man. "Will you help me find it?" Lyra didn't nod, didn't smile. She simply said, "If you were willing to walk where gods have buried their shame." And so, side by side, they stepped beyond the village, into wild lands untouched by worship, into forests older than Olympus, into the forgotten paths where power hides from pride. The journey wasn't marked by battles or monsters. It was marked by questions. Each step peeled Zeus away from himself and from the king, from the god, from the lightning. And slowly he began to feel something he hadn't felt in eons. Small, not weak, human. The sky above remained silent. But inside him, something stirred, a hum, a pulse, a promise. The Thunderbolt was still out there, but it would not return to a god. Only to the man who remembered why it chose him in the first place. Their path led them into the wilds, places older than Olympus, older than time as the gods knew it. The ground here was not earth, but memory. Each tree, each stone, each gust of wind carried a story long buried beneath prayer and power. Lyra walked ahead with steady steps, as if guided by something unseen. Zeus followed in silence, his divine presence now cloaked beneath a growing humility. With every mile, the arrogance eroded. With every breath, the storm within him softened. They came upon a temple half swallowed by jungle. Its gates were shattered, its walls veined with vines and moss. Yet, even in ruin, it pulsed with presence. "This was a shrine to the forgotten ones," Lyra said. "The gods before gods, the ones Olympus buried." Zeus didn't answer. He remembered this place, or rather, he remembered silencing it. When Olympus rose, these old forces were cast aside, too wild, too untamed, too honest. Inside, the temple breathed with warmth and dust. Murals lined the walls, not of battles, but of moments. A mother holding fire in her hands, a beast resting beside a child, a god laying down a weapon. And then, in the center of the floor, a spiral, identical to the one on Lyra's tablet. Only here it glowed faintly, alive. Zeus knelt beside it. "This is where it was made," Lyra nodded. "The Thunderbolt, forged from mercy, from restraint, not rage. He touched the stone. A hum rose from the ground, not violent, not loud, just present. And then, a voice, not his, not Lyra's. A chorus, deep and ancient. Why did you forget? Zeus's hand recoiled. The temple darkened. The spiral flared. And from the shadows, they came. Not monsters, not gods, reflections. Figures of lightning and smoke, shaped like Zeus, but twisted. Each one representing a part of him he had hidden. The tyrant, the avenger, the indifferent father, the vengeful husband, the thunder without meaning. Lyra stood beside him. These are your echoes. They didn't speak. They didn't move. They only watched. Zeus rose, his breath shallow. What do they want? To be acknowledged, Lyra said. To be released. He stepped forward. One echo moved, raising a thunderbolt crackling with wrath. But when Zeus reached out, it vanished into light. Another raised its hand, this one trembling, afraid. Zeus embraced it. It too faded. One by one he faced them, not with power, but with sorrow. These were not enemies, they were consequences. And when the final echo disappeared, the spiral on the floor blazed with light. The murals shimmered, revealing a final image. Zeus, empty-handed, standing before a storm, smiling. No weapon, no crown, just peace. Behind him, Lyra whispered, "The Thunderbolt was never taken. It fled, to protect itself from who you were becoming." Zeus fell to his knees. He understood now. The bolt had not abandoned him. It had remembered what he forgot. That true strength was in restraint, in listening, in choosing not to strike. The temple quieted. The hum faded. Outside, the sky remained still, but no longer empty. A new stillness had formed, not from loss, but from alignment. Zeus stood, no longer seeking his thunderbolt, but seeking balance. Lyra watched him with calm certainty. "We are closer." Where to? To the mirror. To the place where the thunderbolt waits. Not for your return, but your recognition. And together they left the temple, stepping into a world unchanged, but seeing it now for the first time as it truly was, alive, waiting, and listening. They climbed for 3 days. The mountains that cradled Delphi had once echoed with hymns and riddles, the voices of pilgrims seeking truth from the veiled oracle who spoke in tongues not her own. But now, Delphi was empty, or so it seemed. The path was steep, carved in time rather than stone. Clouds hung low, curling around the cliffs like sleeping dragons. With every step, Zeus felt the pull, not of gravity, but of memory. At the summit, the old temple stood in ruin. Columns cracked, statues weeping stone tears. But the silence here was different. It wasn't absence, it was attention. Lyra led him inside. She said nothing. She didn't need to. The moment they entered, the air thickened, heavy with recognition. The chamber was circular, the walls scorched with ancient fire. At the center stood the tripod of the oracle, untouched by decay. Smoke rose from its base, scentless and pale. Zeus stepped forward, but the smoke recoiled. He paused. Then a voice, not Lyra's, not the wind's. Something older. "You have come not for prophecy, but for penance." The smoke coiled, forming a figure, faceless, feminine, flickering like memory. "Speak," it said. Zeus's voice was quieter than the gods remembered. "I seek what I lost." "You lost nothing. It fled." "I know." "Then why are you here?" Zeus closed his eyes. "Because I am ready to listen." The smoke swirled violently, then stilled. Silence. Then, the thunderbolt was born not from fire or vengeance, but from your first act of mercy. A memory pierced his mind, a battlefield long forgotten, a fallen titan beneath his feet, blood soaking the ground. The bolt raised, and yet he spared him. The first choice not to destroy. That moment, the oracle said, forged the thunderbolt soul. It did not serve your wrath, it served your restraint. Zeus dropped to one knee, not in worship, in acceptance. But over time you changed, you forgot the weight of mercy. The thunderbolt feared becoming a tool of tyranny, so it hid. Where? Zeus whispered. "Where it was first born." He looked up. "The battlefield?" "No," the oracle answered. "Inside the man who chose not to strike." The air cracked, not with thunder, but with emotion. Zeus felt it then, not power, presence. A spark, small and still, in the center of his chest. The thunderbolt had not fled into the world. It had fled into the silence he refused to enter. Lyra stepped forward. She placed her hand on his heart. "It's still there," she whispered, "but it doesn't trust you." Zeus breathed deeply. "Then I must earn its trust again." "No," the oracle said. "You must forgive yourself." The smoke enveloped him. In that moment he saw everything. His victories, his failures, the kingdoms he raised, the lives he ruined. Not as punishments, but as reflections. And in that reflection, he saw the boy beneath the god. The boy who just wanted to stop the chaos. Who wanted the world to be fair. Who raised the thunderbolt to protect, not to punish. A tear slipped down his face. The smoke began to dissipate. The oracle spoke one final time. "You do not reclaim the thunderbolt. You remember why it chose you." Then, silence. But a new silence. Not empty. Full. As they exited the temple, the wind stirred. Not violently. Gently. Like a breath. Zeus turned to Lyra. "It's coming back." She nodded. "Because you are." And somewhere high above or deep within, the thunderbolt pulsed, not loud but present, waiting for the man, not the god known, to meet it again. Olympus was dying, not in flame, not in war, in silence. The gods wandered its marble halls like phantoms. Temples cracked, statues wept dust. Prayers, once endless and eager, had thinned into memory. Without the thunderbolt, Olympus lost not just its king, it lost its rhythm. And in the cracks of that silence, something stirred. Far beneath the earth, in the forgotten caverns where primordial screams still echoed, a shadow uncoiled. A breath returned to lungs not used in centuries. Fingers of smoke traced forgotten runes in the dirt. Typhon, the storm beneath order, the beast of final chaos, had awakened. Not with fury, but with hunger. He rose not to conquer Olympus, but to replace it. Because when power leaves a throne, something always rises to claim it. Zeus and Lyra felt it before they saw it. The ground pulsed, the air thickened. Animals fled in synchronized silence, trees bent without wind. Clouds began to twist, not as weather, but as warning. "He's rising," Lyra whispered. "Typhon knows." Zeus clenched his fists. "Because Olympus is weak. Because you were gone." They hurried down the mountains, every step echoing louder than thunder. When they reached the valley below, the sky had already darkened. A crack, deep and endless, split the earth near the horizon, and from it, Typhon emerged. Not as a beast of flame, but as a void in shape. Wings of smoke, eyes of storm. A mouth that opened to reveal silence so total it drowned sound. Zeus froze. He felt nothing, no power, no spark. The thunderbolt still slept within, too uncertain to rise. "I can't fight him," he said. "You were never meant to," Lyra replied. Typhon stepped forward. Every movement collapsed stars behind him. The world dimmed with his presence. "I am what comes after gods," he boomed. "I am what silence creates when pride forgets mercy." Zeus stepped forward anyway. No lightning in his hand, no divine glow, only a voice steady and low. "I forgot," he said. "I ruled, but I didn't listen. I silenced others, even my own thunder." Typhon laughed, a sound like cities crumbling. "And now you face me with nothing?" Zeus looked back at Lyra. She nodded. Then he turned to Typhon. "I face you with everything I once feared." And with that, he dropped to one knee, not in surrender, in remembrance. The sky stirred, a flicker of light. Then a scream, not of pain, but of awakening. Lyra, standing behind him, gasped. Her chest glowed. The spiral burned through her tunic. Zeus turned. "No!" But it was too late. Lyra stepped forward, placing her hand over the mark. "I hear it now," she whispered. "It needs me to show you." And then, silence, but not empty. Lyra collapsed. The spiral dimmed. Zeus caught her body in his arms. She was not gone, but she was not present. Somewhere between, a conduit, a cost, and then it returned. The thunderbolt, not in his hand, but in his heart, roared. The sky cracked open, not in wrath, in balance. Typhon screamed, and for the first time it was he who felt small. The earth pulsed again, but now with light. Trees straightened, stars reappeared. Olympus flickered, Zeus rose, Lyra in his arms. "I don't need power to destroy you," he said. "I only need to remember why I was given power at all." He didn't strike. He didn't raise the bolt. He just stood, and the storm began to recede. Not in fear, in recognition. Because even chaos respects a god who has faced his own reflection and chosen to kneel. Typhon vanished into wind. Olympus exhaled. And Zeus, broken, humbled, reborn, held Lyra as the dawn began to rise. No crown, no roar, just silence. And in that silence, the world began again. Dawn crept over the mountains like a whisper too shy to speak. The kind of dawn that doesn't explode in color, but tiptoes in grays and blues, as if unsure the world still deserves light. Zeus sat beneath a dying olive tree, Lyra's body beside him, breathing slow but distant. Her sacrifice had calmed the storm, but she had not returned from whatever realm had opened within her. He did not call for Apollo. He did not summon healers. He waited, because for once the King of Gods understood. Some things must be given time, not orders. Above, Olympus shimmered faintly, not restored, but breathing again. The pillars no longer cracked. The air no longer hung heavy with dread. Yet Zeus did not return. He remained grounded, silent, listening. He spent days with the mortals, helping rebuild a collapsed village, carrying water, sitting in silence beside grieving mothers. No one knew who he was. A few sensed something, but no one dared ask. It was during one of these quiet moments, while planting olive saplings near Lyra's resting place, that a child approached him. "Are you the thunder god?" the boy asked. Zeus looked up. "No," he said, smiling softly. "But I used to be." The boy frowned. "Why do you stop?" Zeus pressed a seed into the earth. "Because I forgot how to listen to storms before I answered them." The boy nodded, as if that made perfect sense, and ran off. Zeus turned back to the soil. There in the dirt lay something impossible, a small spiral glowing faintly, carved into the stone beneath his hand. Not lightning, memory, the mark of balance. The thunderbolt did not return in fire or scream, it returned in whisper. Later that night, as the stars blinked awake, Zeus sat with Lyra once more. He spoke aloud, though she did not stir. "I know now," he said. The thunderbolt was never meant to be a weapon, it was a reminder. A weight, a question. He reached into his chest, not literally but deeply, and felt it. The pulse, the spark. The thunderbolt lived within him again, not as dominion, as discernment. He looked at Lyra, then upward. "I don't want the throne anymore, not if I must forget the ground to sit on it." From the sky a quiet rumble, not a storm but agreement. And then, her fingers moved, just slightly. Her eyes fluttered, she exhaled, the kind of breath one takes after waking from a dream too large to hold. Zeus took her hand, she opened her eyes. "Did it return?" she asked, voice hoarse. He nodded. "Because of you." She smiled faintly. "Then don't lose it again." "I won't," he said, "because I no longer chase thunder. I walk beside silence." Together, they returned to Olympus, not in parade, not in glory, in presence. The gods gathered, cautious, unsure. Zeus did not address them from the throne, he stood among them. "My power is not my own," he said. "It was never meant to be. The thunderbolt does not obey me. It trusts me, and only as long as I remain worthy." No one responded. Then Athena stepped forward. Will you lead us still? Zeus looked around, at gods who had doubted him, at a sky that had once silenced him, at Lyra, mortal, fallible, fierce. I will not lead, he said. I will listen. And with that, the throne of Olympus shimmered, not in gold, but in humility. The thunderbolt appeared once more in Zeus's hand, not raised, but resting, not as crown, as covenant. The storm had not been defeated, it had been heard. Olympus was whole again, but not as it had been. The marble still gleamed, the clouds still crowned its peaks, but a new kind of order hummed through the air, one not forged by thunder or decrees, but by the space between them. Zeus walked its halls not as a king feared, but as a presence felt. The thunderbolt no longer hovered beside his throne. It rested in the temple of balance, a chamber open to all gods yet ruled by none. And the skies listened. Storms still raged, lightning still danced, but they moved not in wrath, but in rhythm. Every flash a message, every roll of thunder a reminder. Zeus had changed, and so had the world. But not all accepted peace. In the shadows of broken myths and forgotten altars, whispers stirred. Some gods, hungry for the old ways, resented the shift. They saw the new silence not as wisdom, but as weakness. And in that silence, Typhon listened. Though defeated, he had not perished. Chaos never does. It waits. Beneath foundations, inside doubts, behind pride. One night, as the wind howled low and long, a crack tore across the horizon. Not a violent one, a question mark etched in light. Zeus rose. He did not summon the thunderbolt. He did not call the gods. He walked alone, to the edge of Olympus, to the place where sky met thought, and Typhon was there. Not as beast, as idea. A storm of unspoken hunger. You've grown soft, it hissed. No, Zeus answered. I've grown still. You won't stop me. I won't try. Typhon paused. I will burn the cities, shatter temples. Zeus nodded. You might. I will twist prayers, erase names. Perhaps. Typhon leaned close. Then fight me. But Zeus stood in silence. No bolt, no roar, just presence. And in that presence, Typhon faltered. Because chaos is only powerful when it is seen, when it is feared, when it is fed. And Zeus fed it nothing. He turned his back, walked away, left the storm to howl into a void it could not fill. And as he walked, something happened. The thunderbolt appeared, not in his hand, above him, in the sky, crackling, not loudly, but clearly. A single bolt, then silence. The gods watched from Olympus, breathless. Mortals looked to the heavens, sensing something they couldn't name. It was not victory, it was balance. A thunderbolt that chose not to strike, a storm that chose not to rage. A god who chose silence, and in doing so, reminded the world that true power lies not in what you can do, but in what you choose not to. The next morning, Zeus sat beside Lyra on the edge of a cliff. She pointed to a distant village. They're rebuilding the shrine. Let them, he said, but don't let them forget the silence between prayers. She turned to him. Will the thunderbolt leave again? He smiled. I hope so. If I ever forget again, I hope it runs. And they sat, not as God and guide, but as two souls who remembered the storm and chose stillness instead. Above them, the sky pulsed, not in warning, in witness. Before the gods there was silence, not emptiness, but a waiting, a stillness filled with possibility, the kind that listens before it speaks, the kind that watches, not to judge, but to understand. It was from that silence that the thunderbolt was born, not as a weapon, but as a witness, not to punish, but to protect, not to dominate, but to discern. But power corrupts when it forgets where it came from. And Zeus, he forgot. He became the roar instead of the reason. He became the storm instead of the shelter. And the thunderbolt remembered. It remembered what he had once been, what he had once chosen, mercy over might, restraint over rage. So it fled, not to punish him, but to protect itself, to wait for the god who listened to return. And now he has. But the lesson is not just his, it is ours, because we all carry a thunderbolt, a power, a voice, a potential, and sometimes, when we misuse it, when we shout instead of speak, when we dominate instead of understand, it flees, not to disappear, but to hide, to wait for the moment when we finally grow quiet enough to hear it again. So ask yourself, have you lost your thunder? Or are you simply too loud to hear where it's gone? Because the most powerful sound in the universe is the one you choose not to make. If this story stirred something ancient in you, tell us, where are you watching from and what time is it there? We want to know where the echoes of thunder still linger, and who among us still remembers the silence before the storm.